Hello, hello. How is it going? Welcome, everyone. I see there was a lot of people waiting here. It's our community of waiters. Hello, everyone. Today it's another day of Godot Tomorrow. I am Emilio Coppola, Emmy, Executive Director of the Foundation, and we might have a shorter stream today. There isn't way too many news, big ones. Um, Sorry, there isn't too many small news. We have big news, but I don't want to go too deep into them before we start a little bit with the usual. Um, Remember that you can send your questions here on the chat or on the forum. You can ask anything. I'm happy to reply. I don't know anything, but I can try to find out. And I wanted also to say that next week I will not be available on Wednesday, so I might have to move it maybe to the next week. So yeah, probably next week we will not have a Godot Tomorrow, and the other week I will be back. There is a conference in Madrid actually that I will be attending, which is Penpot Fest. Penpot is another open source project which it's always full of lovely people. Really love uh, their community. So I will be hanging out there. If you're in Madrid, you want to meet up, let me know. So yeah, hello everyone on the chat. Alexis, respite from reality. The Greek name, I don't know. Pepsi Cheese, GD Quest, Ezekiel. Okay, let's start with the title of the stream, which is 4.6 Dev 1 has been released, which many people were surprised about it. I think it's not such a surprise if you follow the development closely, but I wanted to give you a little bit of feedback in terms of why we have a dev snapshot so close after the release. Basically, during the entire time that this release, the 4.6 one, like the previous one, is being stabilized, there's a lot of contributors that are still working on many features that are too risky for us to include. So all those features get on a queue. That's basically like as soon as we finish with 4.5, we open the floodgates and we make it happen. And there were too many features to have, so it was the perfect time to release 4.6 snapshot. So yeah, it's not like people are working really fast, which they are. It's that they've been working for a long time since the 4.5 beta started, and that's why there's already a 4.6 release. So both things were being worked at the same time, but releasing too many snapshots makes no sense. So when everything is stable in 4.6, we'll do the same basically. We'll start fixing 4.6, and meanwhile people are gonna keep working on whatever 4.7 will be. For 4.5 there will be a 0.1 release that includes some other fixes and merges, so stay tuned for that. But for now, let's check out a little bit 4.6, which is quite big already. It's over 200 pull requests that have been merged already. Some of the highlights that we have here, it's always really nice to have a video, so thank you for making them. Which is the drag and drop of adding new export variables. This is something that a lot of people do in their workflows. I personally don't follow this workflow, but I know this is quite popular, which is basically does a node field in which you already have in your tree selected there. That means that if you then want to change which node you're referencing, if you want to move it from place to place, the reference is going to be kept, and it's going to be way easier instead of having to make sure that you are referencing the proper node and all that. So yeah, I think the sort of ease of use are always welcome. We don't have a drag and drop programming system, but this is as close as you can get to it. um, Hello, Christoph. We might be moving over to 4.6 sooner than RC1 for fog piercer. Most crashes we get are due to direct 3D12 buffer, which has fixed in 4.6. Really excited about that. Yeah, and I expect more fixes to come also. The new rendering person has started working, and they will probably like eventually start also making a lot of fixes for rendering. So yeah, um, the difference is that there might be some new things that are a little bit more broken, but if your project is already stable enough, that should be good. But yeah, then OpenXR support for spatial entities extensions, which if you're in the XR world, I believe like it's described here, which is basically the information of the real world environment. So basically interacting with things, other VR people, I believe, eventually. I don't know. I'm not up to date with the XR world, but it seems to be a big change. And Bastian made a demo project. Uh, so yeah, high control focus when given via mouse input was also like more popular than I anticipated, but it's basically letting you control the how you draw the focus. This is optional in terms of like you can disable it. If you've been working on UI, you probably already know about it. If not, I encourage you to read a little bit more. There's some different cases in which this happens. And yeah, the remove prompt to restart the editor after changing the custom theme and changing to the passive start theme. It's a premonition for the future updates. Um, I really wish we had a better platform for people to share their themes, and I think that's something that can happen in the new asset store, like having a proper section where people can share themes and an easier way to distribute them, because there's a lot of powerful things you can do with it, and more power to you. I know a lot of people really enjoy tweaking this stuff, especially if you're already a Linux user. You probably spent a million hours in your desktop environment. So yeah. Uh, anyway, like, is anyone aware if you still need to build C# solution before opening Godot to not lose exports? If you work in a team, this is very annoying. I'm not aware of that one, but probably if that was something that happened before, it should happen still. Maybe for the next snapshot, we're gonna have the new experimental C# with GD extension merged, so you might be able to try there. But I'm not a C# user, so yeah, we should do like a day that's specifically for C# where I can get the C# developer in here. Poilin says, "Hi there, my sleep problems continue, so I can finally watch the stream with waiting for my sleeping pill to kick in." Okay, so hope you fall asleep to my horrible voice. But yeah, there's a lot of PRs. Some of them are quite nice. They might not have a nice video to see, but some of them have some analytics. Like this one is like an optimization on time map layer, and this is what we really love to see in PRs, which is basically a test, like actually saying how much improvement there is with the optimizations. A lot of the times we do get PRs that are like, this is refactoring this piece of code and it's better, trust me. And it's like, how can we know? So this is very good. Yeah, other problems with the restarts, translation support for the parser in C#. This one, more C# stuff. Yeah, improvements. I really need to study more about C#. That's something I need to do. And yeah, if you want to see them all, we do have a page at the bottom here. Always we include the interactive changelog, and in here you can see all the different commits that happen per version. So in this case we are in 4.6 dev 1, and you have the list separated all by different categories. And yeah, this is a good way to keep a track of whatever you're interested in. But I always recommend to read the messages, like the reason why they are there. You can find out by clicking, like for instance in this one, we opened it before, and then usually it references other issues or other PRs that you can read more and understand why the change was made. I see many times people asking in chat or in different platforms, like, why was this change made? And usually you can find out by just visiting GitHub and reading the conversation. So yeah. Does Godot 4.6 have the minimal theme as the new default theme? Not yet. In the next snapshot, hopefully, that will be the case. But right now, the merge that happened was most of the stuff that was already lined up to be merged as soon as we release 4.5. But yeah, there's way too many things to cover. I will not go into details, but you should. I will leave a link here on the chat for you to visit the page and check it out. So yeah, I hope you understand more why 4.6 came out so fast, which was what I read everywhere. So don't worry, we're not super crunching here in terms of like getting everyone on board. It was everything that piled up until now. Okay, moving on. We had today also a blog post for the GodotCon in Boston. That's a post that Chad Stewart made for basically talking a little bit about what happened and the event, the talks, the people who were there. This is me with basically everything I had with me because they lost my luggage. But anyway, and yeah, we meant to make a post about it sooner after the conference, but we had a little issue uploading the videos and all that. But now everything should be on YouTube. You can watch them. And yeah, it's been a great conference. The first one we do in the US. The timing was not ideal, but we made it work. The community over there is lovely. They were all helping a lot. And they were very, very happy to also meet each other in person. So, one interesting thing from the blog post that not a lot of people might have seen, which is this section, which is the future, which reminds people, of course, if you want to meet us, you can do in November in Godot Fest, but that there will be another one next year in the US, and it will be in Boston again, organized by the same group. Historically, we've been trying to move the GodotCon from city to city, and while this is something we can do more confidently in Europe because there's many communities in many countries, in the US we couldn't find another community that was ready enough to host another event. So we decided to, instead of try to force it anywhere else, do it again in Boston. And if some other group can step up, we do it there. But yeah, that's we still don't have the date. As soon as we have it, I will let you all know. And it's recommended that this is for the US audience. There's also a European Godot conference. Hopefully will happen, as I mentioned in previous episodes, in Amsterdam. That's my goal because that's the top answer in the poll, but it's still in the works. So yeah, if you are in the US, you want to help out with the organization, get in touch. And the people at the Boston group are lovely. Okay. Let's now go to the Nodeletter. This is the monthly newsletter we send. There was one sent a couple days ago, and that was the September one, of course. A lot of cool stuff happening here. Unfortunately, it was not as good as I would have liked the newsletter to be, but didn't have much time to work on it. That's why I'm asking also here to get more support. I'm thinking about making some sort of guidelines so more people can contribute. And eventually what I would like to see is a newsletter that can actually condense a little bit what happened in the Godot world, like in in Blue Sky, in Reddit, in our forums, in different places, our blog. So you don't have to be all the time on top of all these different places, and you can see like what the most important things are, in this case, I covered like there's always like the foundation news category, which we go over the articles that we already published during that month, which was the release of 4.5. This was one day before the other release. So yeah, the community showcase and tutorials. Here we try to bring a light a little bit to the community and some videos. Usually there's way too many tutorials that are, making the rounds, and we want to highlight them. So I posted, like, I added these two, which are one for stencil buffers, which was one of the features that we added in 4.5. And this one, which is for a set of shaders that's open source, a video made by Lucky, but the shader has, I will cover them again, by Madness, which looks super nice. And this is basically a set of shaders that you can use for making skin look very, very good in Godot. And yeah, it's of course like a demo, like a tech demo that you can see. It's not included in any game as far as I know, but it's good to see this sort of work being done. I've heard many times from pros that usually Godot has already a very good 3D engine. The problem is that there's not a lot of people using high quality assets with it. And I feel like we are now at that point where people are starting to use higher quality assets, and more artists get involved in the community, so we get nicer looking videos and demos, of course. But yeah. All right. Another thing that was super nice was the Brachis game jam that happened, which had 2,294 entries, and the winner in overall, and actually the top 5, are all Godot games. That was done, like the research was done by Remy Akien, the project manager, the release manager for the project. On Blue Sky, he went over the numbers. So top 5 was 100% Godot games, and top 20, it was 80% Godot games. The method, it's a little bit, like just going into the different games and checking what each reports, but it's quite impressive. It's not a surprise, of course. Brachis came back recently, has made 2 videos about how to make games in Godot, so it's very natural that the community would be making games in Godot specifically, but still quite nice to see that also those games are getting good scores by everyone. If you want to read more about it, it's on the newsletter. You can subscribe to the newsletter on our forums. You will see a link, or I will post it. Maybe we'll post a link to this here, and it includes the links to where you can subscribe if you want to keep getting this sort of news in your inbox. Then another section we always do is the indie releases, where we highlight games that have been releasing in Steam and have some sort of recognition, because there's way too many for us to add them all. And one of them that's a highlight, I think, for the community is Blood Thief. Blood Thief has been a game that was quite popular on YouTube because of the devlogs that the developer was making. And really, really interesting stuff. Flowers and Favors, it's very cozy type game that looks super pretty. Like, I really want to use this in some sort of showcase. I hope they submit it for the show reel, because this looks super nice. And yeah, Fireside Feelings, another cozy game with a very interesting twist, because it has like some multiplayer functionalities, and you can communicate with other users. Also looks super nice. And the objectively analytic game, I don't know how to describe, but the zeitgeist of games, a card game, of course. I really don't know exactly which was the catalyst. I don't know if it was Slay the Spire, but there are way too many card games. Still, this one looks super good. the art and everything looks very good. Very positive reviews. So if you're interested in card games, there's a demo. You can check it out. But yeah. True. Christoph is like like trains and cars. Very good combination. All right. There's also another kind of like public service announcement, which is we have for a long time. When I say we, it's actually, I believe it's Remy adding all these games here. This curator list, which is it made in Godot, where if you're checking a game and you want to know if it is made in Godot, you can see basically by checking on the game itself, you will see this banner made with Godot. And I think there's another place where you can check it out. But if you follow this, you will also get some notifications. The problem is like this reached the maximum amount of games that you can have on a list. So there is a new one. That's not ideal. Like there should be unlimited, but the new one is still adding games, and I hope it will fill out quite soon. But if you are following this, you should do so in this link here. I will leave the links on the description also for afterwards. Been trying to improve the workflow on doing the streams, but yeah, if I forget about any, just feel free to ask, and I'm happy to post it. So FOSS tools, this is one of my favorite areas, which is other tools that you can use that are made with Godot or are for Godot and are open source. And in this case, we have human shaders, which is the one we covered recently for the shaders, that looks super good. And you can download this. I believe this is MIT, if I'm correct. Yes, MIT license. So the same license that Godot has. And you can download it and just try it out. And, maybe you can add it to a 2D character. That would be super nice. Let me know if you do that. I would like to see. Imagine like a 2D character with like super realistic skin. Okay, ray traced audio. That was really, really interesting. We've seen several versions of this floating around the web, but this is the first one I see that's MIT licensed and published there. In this showcase video, you can maybe understand a little bit more of how it works. So if you have headphones, it's very noticeable. You can muffle the sound. And it makes everything very realistic. Incredible. And you can download this and use it in your project. Oh, anyway, yeah, really interesting stuff. This was inspired by this video that got really, really viral about how to make ray trace audio. Basically, like you do ray tracing where you make things bounce and then you check the position of the player and how many bounces things got to modify them. I believe that's how it works. You can do the same with audio. And this video kind of goes over like the different techniques and things like that in a more agnostic way of how to calculate it. And some people have made different implementations for different engines. In this case, the one we've seen, the ray trace audio, is the implementation in Godot. So, if you're looking for having really nice audio, you should give it a go. Yeah, that was really cool. And the other one is, now that we even have here GDQuest themselves, which is the GDScript formatter. And this one, I'm sure you already know about it. It's been all over the place, but it's a way for you to format a script in always like a consistent manner. So if you have a very messy script like we have here, you can run the script to organize it and have it follow the guidelines that the GDScript has. I believe this is quite finished already, and you should be able to try it out with your projects. Of course, everything should work fine, but remember to use version control. I know that there's a lot of you who don't, just in case something gets weird. But yeah, you can use also this with external editors and inside the editor, because yeah, I believe that there was a section here on the blog post that can I use this from within Godot? And in the GitHub issue itself, I see that it has been closed because yeah, you can basically use it with a menu. Sorry, where is it? Is it here? I remember seeing a video here. So as a plugin, format current script. So yeah, I think this is something that many people wanted in other programming languages like Go. You already have something like this out of the box, and every time you save, you basically run this. So you make sure that the style is always the same. But yeah, really good stuff. I'm happy that this can be made also as a plugin. So if you don't like it, you don't have to add it. But yeah, I haven't been reading the chat too much, but let's see if I missed something. Okay, yeah, it's nice to have you there. Yeah, one thing I don't know how many people know about, but I'm gonna here to show you the secret, because the other day I was enthusiastically clapping on the GDQuest website, and you can clap as many times as you want, and this is very addicting because now suddenly you have a new dialog that's the claps clicker. And what's the claps clicker? Where basically you can click until you get 20, and then I can get a cursor that claps for me. So this is like a cookie clicker version of the clapping, so you can celebrate the GDQuest posts infinitely. And I've been testing this out for longer than I would like to admit. So if you would like to clap, you should. I think it's a great feature. I don't know why this was made, but I don't want to know. I'm happy that it was made. Let's see the strength of the claps. Let's get to 100. Okay, I should close this because I will spend the entire hour just clicking on things. But yeah, a good Easter egg. I really love it. Okay, so we cover all this. Okay, yes. Let me check. All right. Yeah. Those were kind of like some of the. Oh, I closed the newsletter. Oh. Okay, here we have it. Then Godot Rust version 0.4. If you are using Rust, you want to use Godot, you can. You should check it out. Another announcement for the JetBrains Game Dev Day. This is a free event that you're organizing, and we wanted to highlight it. They are one of the sponsors for the Godot Foundation, so they're basically making sure that we can keep working in Godot. And so I thought it was nice that there's an event that you can attend online that's about games. And yeah, there's way too many paid events in person already. And if you're interested in hearing talks and stuff like that, you can do that from home. So yeah, you can check it out. And yeah, I wanted to let you know that the newsletter is happening every month and that you should subscribe. So I'm gonna leave it there. Next up, I also saw on social media this post on Reddit that is from a user doing a donation, a one-time donation. I really wanted to thank you, Deacon Creates, and everyone who's donating to the project. It's thanks to people like you that we are able to keep doing what we're doing. And we added one-time donations at the beginning of this year, well, at December last year. And it's been going very well. We always try to see what the other communities are doing, and many people are chasing that monthly donation, which is quite good as well. But we know that a lot of users want to help out once, and that has been helping us tremendously. If you check on our website, this year alone, we made 280,000 euros in one-time donations. So that's amazing. And yeah, this includes, of course, some of the sponsorships that we get from companies, but it's really good. It's not a recurrent source of revenue, so this makes it a little bit more difficult for us to know how long we're going to be able to keep people hired. But in general, we have a better grasp now of how much we can expect now that it has been running for close to a year soon. And this is going to allow us to hire more people without needing people to be donating monthly, which again, it's a bit shaky because you cannot predict if people are going to be donating or not, but it's very good that this way has been working out really well. So yeah, I wanted to thank all of you. And another news related with the website or the previous episodes is the download links. So we've been having an issue for a long time in the website, especially the export templates were having issues also downloading from the editor. So we were relying on GitHub for doing that. We reported the issue. GitHub said like, yes, we know, we'll fix it. So we couldn't wait until they fixed it, and we made our own mirror. So we are now hosting those export templates, and that has been updated already. So if you notice now that when you download, it's getting them from like our mirror, and that's something we're hosting. That's some of the things we can do thanks to the donations we get from the foundation. In this case, in this PR, basically we have now like our own mirror. Downloads should be work fine from the editor and from outside, and you shouldn't be getting any interruptions. The issue was if you had a small, like a slow internet and the download took more than X amount of time, it got interrupted, which was really inconvenient. And you don't really want to be missing your export templates just before a game jam and those failing. So I'm happy that we have now our own mirror. And yeah, report an issue if you find it. So far, it's been working well. But yeah, it's been already half an hour. I think I'm gonna be moving now to the Q&A section of it. I only have one question prepared from the comments of previous video, previous stream. But if you want to ask something, this is the moment. Let's see. The question I had here open was from Respite from Reality, which we had you in chat before, which was more about maybe the best middle ground for many in-engine feature requests is better integration for templates or add-ons in the project manager. Right now, the annoying part of the asset store templates is there is no rating system or version flags. I know the new store has them. And maybe having a dedicated tab for templates you downloaded and some way for templates to pull any add-on dependencies directly in the project manager would probably help newcomers or less technical developers find what they need. The demos could also be shown there for anyone trying to get their bearings. Yes, I think this is a really good point, and that's something that it has to happen. Like maybe not now, but it will have to happen, which is the fact that, for instance, now that we were talking about the GDScript formatter, let's say that you want that GDScript formatter in all your projects. Right now, you will have to install it project per project, and every time you create a new one, you need to add the plugin, like the GDScript formatter and all that. So one thing to fix there would be the global add-ons, in which if you create a new project, it will also include that add-on that you marked from the project manager as a global add-on, and you would get it there as well. And that can also be for if you're only making visual novels and you're using a dialog manager or Dialogic, you can also do that as well. And you can also remove it from the current project. And the other one is the templates. I believe the templates is something that other engines are doing better in terms of like getting you a starting point with something without you having to start from scratch each time. And you can already do that, but it's not ideal in terms of the usability. So having a better template system in which you can also install new templates to use for other projects would be like good solutions for this. And I do think that once we do that, people are not gonna be worried about like, oh, this should be including Godot or this shouldn't, because like the ray traced audio that we discussed, you could install this and have it in every project. It's not very optimal because maybe you're doing just a tiny thing and you don't really want it. But if you know you're gonna be using it and you want it enabled everywhere, then you're not gonna have the pressure to say like, if this is not included in Godot, I don't know what I'm gonna do. And I think it will alleviate that perception of the add-ons, not being on pair with the built-in things. So yeah, I hope that answers the question. Yeah, we have you here in the chat. Let's see. Yeah, I personally didn't know the demos existed, and I've been using them quite often. Yeah, we have many demos, and people are making really nice demos. But in the asset library right now, they are really hard to discover. And once you get them, maybe you downloaded them in a folder you forgot about, and yeah, it is not ideal. It is not front and center, and yeah, I think like even if starting projects shouldn't be the main goal, because you should actually finish the ones you already started. I know you have like 10 there. It's quite nice to get it for a game jam or something like that, just a starting point, and get it ready, just ready to go. But yeah. I think global add-ons should run on the editor itself, not inside the project files. If you have a lot of things which aren't used during runtime, it can lead to project file size bloat. Well, I think that depends on the add-on itself, because not all the add-ons are gonna be modifying stuff that's on your exported games. Like the GDScript formatter will not be bundled when you export it, in terms of like that's not something that will modify your game in any way. So yeah. I wonder if those 3D interactive guys like Godot. I don't really know the context of that one. I want to ask why Godot lacks performance for mobile games 3D. It's a hard question because that's very broad. I could say that performance is very good. Somebody could say that performance is very good as well. Somebody else could say that it's very bad, depending what they're trying to do. Many times what we see when we're profiling some projects that got popular is that they might be using models that are very high poly counts. Maybe there's some techniques that they could benefit from, and the split between this is something that the user should do, this is something that the engine should do, is hard to define sometimes. But the reality is also that all the funding that we got to improve the mobile renderer was because of VR. So all the improvements that we got on the mobile renderers, like for 3D games, are happening because of that. So the priority is not for regular Android games. If we were to have better funding for this, we could spend more time. There are many improvements happening all the time. I'm not saying that it is not happening. It's just that it might not be happening super fast compared to other areas. And we, as I said on the last stream, we hired a new person to also improve a little bit the Android experience in general. And this is not only just the renderer, but also everything else. So you can expect that things should be better in 4.6. But yeah, the performance discussion can be also similar in the how is it called, in the GDScript area, right? A lot of people will tell you, well, GDScript is not performant enough, and it's like, yes, but where are you using it? How are you using it? And most of the time, it's not an issue. The times where it is an issue, there's probably different ways to do things that are better, and there's even solutions for those. So it's a huge conversation, and I think being more specific would help to address the issues. But yeah. Godot has some issues connecting to the Xbox. Well, yeah, no idea about Xbox at the moment. We don't interact with the Xbox at all. Um, do you have an update on the C Sharp web export? Well, at the moment, it's not being prioritized because the first priority is getting the GD extension, who should be out in the next dev snapshot. After that, the work will continue on the web export. As I said, we only have one person hired by the foundation who has to do all this for C Sharp. So we cannot do a lot of progress on parallel. But yeah, I hope that after maybe Dev 2, Dev 3, you can start to hear a bit more about the web exports for C Sharp. But yeah. Thread Interactive is a YouTube channel that basically judges performance of modern games and mostly how poorly Unreal Engine is optimized. Well, you see, like that's the framing of that sentence is, I believe, flawed because yeah, maybe the games they are testing are not well optimized, but it is not Unreal Engine usually the issue because there are games that are running in Unreal Engine that are very performant, but the companies have different priorities and different ways of developing things, and sometimes that means that they are not prioritizing the performance when they should, and when it's too late and they have to ship, the thing has not been optimized properly, which might sound kind of hostile to say that the problem is not with the engine but it's with the user, especially coming from someone that's working on an engine. And but I also know that any engine can produce many cool things if you work with their kind of structure in mind and you try to optimize it early, you try to do things properly, and that's not the reality of how these big companies who are releasing Unreal games are working. They are probably also using Unreal because somebody decided that that would be cheaper for the studio instead of having their own internal engine. So there's a lot of decisions that got made until the point where you can say, oh, this game is in Unreal, that's why it's slow. That's usually not why the games are slow. It's not because they're using Unreal, Unity, Godot Game Maker, or whatever. Like there's other reasons. And yeah, uh, I don't know how deep I should get into this, but yeah. Will we see more details in debugger monitors? For example, see how much time was took to execute different methods. I would love to see it. I can say like that's something that comes up quite often, like improvements of the debugger, especially when people are trying to find out why things are slow. Going back to the previous answer, but there isn't anyone that I know that's actively working on that. But if you do have some proposals that you think should be looked at, please send them to me here or in the forum. Let me leave a link to the forum so you know where to find me. Okay, here. Please get in touch with me there. And if you have any proposals, let me know. Yeah. Godot by default is doing some stuff better than UE. I mean, probably depending on the project you are doing, that's true, and probably in some other projects that's not true. And that's the problem with having a general purpose engine, right? Like the moment that you're making some decisions, you're actually making decisions for everyone, and you have to have in the same editor someone that's making a 2D pixel art platformer and a first person shooter. So it's really hard to make a decision that will be good for all of them. So the defaults are important, and in our case, the defaults are trying to address what our community needs or what our community uses. Unreal has other users and they have other sort of decisions why they need to make different defaults. But yeah. Do you spend extra time trying to make Godot look good? I say it looks 10 times better than other engines. I mean this both in terms of aesthetics and useful organization. I think yes, but maybe not exactly the time is not being spent in making Godot look good, but I feel like there's a lot of users that care about Godot, and that, you know, when they are using it, they are noticing things that don't look good and they want to improve them, and they are able to send the code that makes things look better. And that's more or less kind of like the open source way of doing things. But in terms of aesthetics and all that, I feel like all software is very similar right now. We are gonna even be more similar to the rest now with the new theme, the new minimal theme by Passive Star, which is more in line with everything else. But I think that that's a good thing. Like, the goal for something like Godot is to you not noticing that it's there, because what you should be thinking about is in making your game. So the moment you stop for a little bit to think where things are or how this looks, like, that's when you suddenly get out of the flow and you see like, oh, I'm using a piece of software, you know. So the ideal would be that you don't notice that the engine is there, that you're just working on your game and things are where you expect them to be and all that. Um, and that it doesn't get in the way. And I think we can do that in a better way than some other projects out there, because the people who are also making games are also improving the engine, and there's a lot of communication in terms of like the users and the makers. In other organizations, maybe there isn't a lot of communication between these two teams, and the priorities might be different. So yeah, I don't think that people that we are just going to a blackboard and writing like, yeah, we need to make this look good. I think it's more like, once somebody notices something, they want to improve it, and they can, that makes things look good. But yeah, I don't know if that made any sense. I feel like it was a very weird way of answering that one. Um, we exported to mobile recently on 4.5 and noticed it 45 FPS max with just UI and 2D nodes, and only like 20, 30 nodes in the scene. Oh, okay. So that seems like it's not nice. I am the president. And if that's a small project, and that's perfect. Like, the fact that you may choose a project with only that and it's running very bad, that means that you can create an issue on GitHub that says, this is the project that we exported. It contains all this and we get very bad performance. And that's a great way for us to have something that we can test. Because if we don't have anything to compare, any change that we make to the engine, we cannot really see how it will impact that project. So if you have a very small project like what you're describing, 20, 30 nodes in a scene, and it's running very poorly, it's a great way to show that as a, hey, this shouldn't work as this slow. Like, I don't know what's up. And either you will be able to find someone that can tell you if you are doing something wrong, or we will be able to find out if we are doing something wrong and try to address it. So yeah. Does the team already have a lineup for most features that will be added in 4.6? If so, when will we get more information on what the update will cover? Yes and no. We do have some ideas of things that we would like to get done, and that will come publicly in an update on the priority list. So the priority list that we have on our website, that includes, let me, where is it? Here. So in the priority list, we do have here like different areas and different features per area. So you can expect that some of these items will make it into the next release. Some of them will not. We will try to update it and keep it more like relevant. A lot of these things have been already merged, and yeah, some other features we don't know. Some of them has been, pending for a long time, and now maybe it might be the good time to do it. Some others get contributed to us by different companies. Like, for instance, the play mode when you press play and you see the game inside the editor, that wasn't developed by the foundation. That was developed by W4 Games, and then they sent it to us. So it wasn't in our plans to have that in 4.4, but it's something that they donated to us So I couldn't have known about that feature coming until it was actually, sent. So we know at the foundation what things we want to do, and I've been talking about those. I hope I can make a more clean up priority. But there's many other features that we just don't know. Um, and the problem with showing something early and saying this will make it into the next release is that it creates the expectation from the community that that will definitely happen. And you can see that with the HDDI, this lighting system that Juan started making. He posted about it in social media. He said, "Hey, this might be coming soon." And we still get people asking about it, even if that's not being worked on at the moment. So it's a bit of a double-edged sword sometimes to say that a feature will make it, because sometimes there's reason why the feature shouldn't make it. um, but yeah, I hope that that answers the question. Hey, please try to fix pixel jitter. um, I've been making a lot of pixel games and I don't have the jitter in the projects. I don't know if you read there. I think there's a page in the documentation that covers some of the techniques that you can use to avoid the pixel jitter in pixel art games. Um, Let me find out if I can find it. Notes. Um, Actually, yeah, there's one also by GD Quest. Um, there's actually like an article by GD Quest as well. I found this by just looking really fast. But yeah, I don't know exactly now which page on the documentation it was for that, but I believe that there was one. If you still get them, as always, open an issue or try to ask on the forums, and maybe somebody will be able to help you. Um, will Git extension return possibly to use Godot profiling function macro in the future? Or maybe am I missing something and it's possible to profile Git extensions? You should be able to profile them as you profile anything else with a profiler. I'm not an expert on profiling, and I cannot really answer that for sure. But even if it's like, yeah, you should be able to like profile any software that you're running in your computer, like with if you have the right profiler. So yeah, maybe that's something that David, who's the GD extension maintainer, could answer properly. But yeah. I saw an issue mentioning the having 45 FPS with 3D scenes. See if I can create a repro project and add that issue if it's not already making progress. Yes, please. Like, if it's not on GitHub, unfortunately, it doesn't exist. That's the reality of this. Like, we cannot really know what it's not being reported to us. That's why I also engage with the community, because we want to know the things that people are not telling us on GitHub. But for things like that, if you really are expecting a fix and it hasn't been added to GitHub, it's hard for us to know. Someone should donate a proper texture asset streaming system. Yes, if you're working on that, yeah, I think that will eventually make it. It's something that it's in the priority list, and many people know it's wanted. I don't know when, but that has to come eventually. What's your opinion on the terrain system for Godot, Terrain 3D, and Terrain? Is going to have something like Unity built-in system in the future? No, I don't think that for the terrain thing makes sense. And that's one of the reasons why before I was saying that maybe making the global plugins will make it not needed, right? Like it will make it as less important that we ship it by default. If there's very good plugins and the community are maintaining them, there isn't any reason why we should include that for everyone. Especially with something as specific as a terrain editor, there's many decisions you have to make in the terrain editor itself that are very dependent on what your game needs. That us making that decision would make Godot seem like it might not be exactly fitting to your needs. So I think this is one of the cases where plugins should be like a good solution. But yeah. Can Godot 4.6 switch the project to DirectX when running on the Xbox? I think you. It's not that we can. Like I think that that's what you have to do. Like if you're running in Xbox, you have to use DirectX, and yeah, that's why it's the renderer is there. So yeah. Um. Okay. Do you have any future ambitions for the game engine outside of what's in the priority section? What do you wish the engine to become in a few years' time? Um, yes, but also I don't think that they're important. I think what's important was the majority of the users want. Of course, I'm making games on my free time. I do have some opinions about what things should happen, but I know that they are very specific for my games. So, like that shouldn't be the direction we take. I think what I want to see is that there is this perception I think that many people have about Godot not being ready for making AAA games or for making X and Y kind of games, and I would like to see that gone in terms of like I would like people to complain about more concrete issues, uh, not more the abstract things, because it's kind of hard to address those sorts of concerns. Um, at the end of the day, it's not up to us who uses the engine, and we cannot make things that will make AAA studios use us or will make indie developers use Godot. But I think the more mature the engine gets, and the more like I read here in the chat the words battle tested. Um, the more it is tested, I think the better will be for everyone, and the ambition would be that people don't complain about it not working properly for their game, but that they have very specific things that we can address, right? At least maybe that's a bit selfish. It would make our work easier to say like, okay, this is a complaint people have. This is something that's preventing many people from making games. Let's hire someone that can address this issue. We fix it, we ship it, everybody's happy. That would be ideal. But many times we find ourselves in a situation like the consoles discourse, right? Like, oh, God cannot export to consoles, which is not true, but it's more complicated than that. So whatever we can do to, you know, let people know that yes, you can do ship to consoles. There's many Godot games in consoles already, but there might be some issues in some particular instances. It would be better to shift the conversation there. But I found out that many people are just repeating things that they read online without actually checking. Many people still don't know that you can make 3D games with Godot. So yeah, maybe we are not doing a good job of spreading that around. But with time, I think like people are gonna see it as as it actually is. But maybe I went too off topic there. But yeah. Um, Kind of similar question. What would it take to consider the engine to be battle tested? Are there areas of research you're measuring uh, or like to? So what we're measuring is what we can measure. In this case, it's basically the performance of the games in Steam, basically. Um, we can see which games have been made in Godot. We can see how well they are doing for the users, how many reviews they have, if they are popular or not, and we see that that's increasing. So we take that as a signal that more people are using it. Same with the game jams that they share it, like their progress. Those things we can see. We can see that like people are liking it, and then mm, the bigger issue is then finding out in which areas we are not uh, being good enough, in which areas people are being disappointed, which areas people are struggling, and try to address those. And now we're starting to hear more from people who are making bigger games with bigger ambitions. So the problems are a different kind, but we try to do our best to address those. But there isn't other stuff that we can actually test. We are not tracking what you do with the engine. We're not tracking what you're making which errors you get on the engine and stuff like that. So unless you report it, it's hard for us to see anything like that. And there are some metrics that we could use, like say how many issues get opened on GitHub, how many issues get closed on GitHub. But the moment where you also like focus on that thing, like if our focus is let's close every open issue in GitHub, then you're gonna find that we're gonna start closing more issues than we should, and some of them we will just close because they are abandoned or because it will make the numbers look better. So I don't think that should be the incentive. So it's really hard to put some number next to something as a metric of something getting better. Of course, performance is easy. Like performance has to be good. We do have benchmarks that they have to be better and all that. But more like general, it's hard. Yeah. Okay, so we're getting close to the hour. No, we're already in the hour. I thought it was gonna be a shorter, but maybe I rambled too much. Let's see if I can do a quick round of answers. But yeah. Are there any plans to improving the multiplayer features of Godot? Documentation seems lacking at the moment. The documentation is kind of lacking. Not that I know of. I don't know of any other big improvements coming soon, but yeah, maybe there's some things that could be made. We don't have anyone at the foundation working in multiplayer. We do get some contributions, but I believe that the biggest multiplayer titles were using Godot 3 as well. I don't know if they moved to Godot 4 already. And yeah, it's a very difficult topic. And as I said before, like since we are focusing on the majority of our users, most of our users are not making multiplayer games, so it's hard to justify getting there. Of course, if we improve the multiplayer tools, we would get more multiplayer games made with Godot. But to get there, like there's many things to do in the process. So yeah, I hope we get, but not we don't have anyone at the moment working in it. Godot's current reputation is more appealing towards indie creators when I feel like it has a lot more potential. I think it's been used as a level editor for Battlefield 6, a sign of bigger things. Yeah, but yeah, I think GD Quest already answered that one right there. But the X is kind of lacking right now. Strikes again. Exactly. Well, I think we're gonna leave it here. Thank you very much for being around. Thank you for all your questions. I hope I was able to answer. Maybe I missed some, but if I did, please leave a comment on the forums. I'm happy to revisit it in the next version, and hopefully soon we're gonna be able to have a different video playing around, like the new show reel. And yeah, thank you everyone. It's been great to see you in Godot tomorrow. And remember, next week I will not be here. I will be in Madrid. If you're in Madrid, you want to meet, let me know. But the other week I will be back with Godot tomorrow. So yeah. Adios, ciao.